Hey guys, Chad Anheliger, UFC Bantamweight, coming on the I Only Touch Greatness podcast.
The number one sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
Ryan Hayes and Big Mike. I Only Touch Greatness podcast.
Taking over the podcast scene in Vancouver. Get down or lay down. Lay down.
Think about Strader as he's adjusted.
Anheliger with
it's over, it looks like. I mean, if he keeps eating shots like this, they're going to call the fight. This is big.
That'll do it! Canadian Chad Anheliger takes the scorecards right out of it.
Whoa.
It's Vancouver's Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
Sounds good. So Chad, born in Alberta, obviously. Give us a little bit about your kind of like your fighting story and how you got into it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just played sports in a small town. I grew up in Consort. We only had like 600 people, so the only sport we had was hockey, and I played that till I graduated, moved away. And then, I still wanted to do something else. I just didn't really know what it was. I just was hungry for competition and ended up walking into my first MMA gym. And that was pretty much it. I just loved it. I was hooked. I started getting good right away. And, it took me a couple of years, but once I got my first fight, and then things just kept rolling from there. So I didn't set out wanting to, be in the UFC or be an MMA fighter. It just kind of happened. I knew I wanted to do something, and I ended up walking into the right gym.
Absolutely.
Did you want to be in the NHL or something? And
I didn't really chase hockey that much. My brothers actually, they played pretty high level, and that was more their dream. I didn't really have the size for it. And when I was younger, I didn't really, I just really wasn't that focused, I was just having fun. It wasn't until I was older that I actually became way more focused in athletics. It's kind of weird. I know a lot of people have that drive when they're real young and through athletics, and then it fades away. Mine was the opposite. It kind of came later. So.
Okay. Were you scrapping on the ice too, or?
Oh, plenty of those. Yeah. Plenty of those.
And another friend of the show, also UFC fights out of Alberta, though. Tanner Besser.
Yeah. You ever train with him or different parts of Alberta? Obviously.
No. He's north. I think he does some training in Edmonton, but no, we just totally different teams. And I've seen him around at some local shows. I mean, some of our guys fight on the same events and stuff. Good guy and everything, but no, we don't train much. Works out anyway. I know he's a big heavyweight, so. It wouldn't really add up anyway. We couldn't benefit each other that much. So.
Okay. True story. And who would you say you kind of looked up to in the MMA world, getting up, growing up? Did you ever watch much MMA or UFC?
Yeah, I was watching, when I was first starting training, and, there was never really specific guys. There was lots of great fights that got me motivated. Some of the guys that used to fight, I used to really love the Diaz brothers fights, BJ Penn. Just a lot of the guys that really fought, really, really kind of nasty fights and lots of finishes and always, busting the guy up and bloody fights. So those were always the ones that got me excited, motivated.
Diaz, yeah. Well, Neat's one of my favorites. Ever since he had the head triangle where he was fingering the crowd. I forget who that was on, but from that moment forward, I've been a big fan of his. Do you have a favorite strike or submission?
Well, I've got kind of a submission that is kind of my signature, I guess you'd call it. It's my guillotine choke. I got a lot of different setups and entries and angles and finishes, and I've got a few wins with it so far in my career. So that's probably my go-to is my guillotine choke. And then striking, I like a mixed bag. I like all kinds of different strikes. I've been playing through my career. I've had different styles of my striking. I used to do a lot of heavy boxing only, and then I got into a lot more of a Muay Thai style. I'm just always kind of playing around with striking. It kind of depends on the opponent too.
Okay. And obviously, this is obviously based on who your opponent is, I'm guessing, but do you prefer to stand up or do you prefer to go to the ground?
I'm just so comfortable standing that I'm usually the one who's more comfortable than my opponent, so I can wear them out, gas them out, make them uncomfortable. So that's typically where I like to keep it, only because my comfort level is usually higher than my opponents. I don't mind getting hit and being in the pocket. Some people just can't. They don't want to be there. So that's usually where I like to keep it. But it's all relative. If the guy is as comfortable as me, I might take him down. I'm comfortable on the ground too. But I usually find my opponents don't want to be standing with me, so that's why I make it stay there as much as I can.
Was there somebody in the industry that helped you like open doors for you and get you into the business?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my head coach Brian Bird at Champions Creed, he'd already produced 2 UFC fighters, the only 2 that had ever come out of Calgary. I'm the 3rd, so we all came from the same gym. I mean, there's no, the proof is in the stats right there. So he had already kind of been there, and he knew how to get there. He knew what things I had to do, and then just logistically setting it up with it kind of just who he has some connections through the MMA world through some different programs. Ended up getting me set up with my management team, and it was a long process, but it all started with Brian for sure.
And what's it like training with Hakeem? I know that's one of the guys we were just talking about.
Well, usually it's not very fun because he's a beast. But yeah, he's an awesome motivation for our team. He's a real leader for our team because he's such a, he's so athletically gifted, yet he works, harder than anybody at the gym. So he just, really keeps you motivated to work hard. And he's awesome. He's an awesome teammate to have. Tons of experience too. I mean, he's got a lot of UFC fights. I was lucky enough to corner him a couple times as well in the UFC before I made my debut. That helped take away a lot of the nerves and, that first UFC experience. So yeah, I benefited a lot from Hakeem.
Are you a Calgary Flames fan?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they're pretty much Vancouver Canucks the last couple of years, but
yeah, that's what you guys say now that we're doing good. You want to try and jump on board, but too bad.
Yeah.
True story. And take us back to February 19th, obviously the UFC debut with Jason Strader when you TKO'd him. I won some good money on that fight, so thanks again on that one.
Yeah, it was a really good fight. I was really fortunate because I had a very shitty training camp. Things were going wrong left, right, and center. And I just don't pull out of fights. I've only ever pulled out of one fight in my entire career. And it's your debut at the UFC. I just don't even want that to be associated with my name, this guy that pulls out of fights. So I was going to fight no matter what. So I had some injuries and things through camp. I fought that fight with a torn meniscus in my knee. Like literally 1 week into training camp, I tore my knee. And it's like, so I just taped it up for 11 more weeks and just trained and got through it. And then 10 days before I was leaving, or just over 10 days before I was leaving to Vegas, I got COVID. And then I was sick. I couldn't train. So I was kind of worried about my weight cut. Even when I got on the plane, I was still feeling run down. So I was really nervous if my cardio was going to hold up. And, actually by the time I was there, I finally got my first, workout or 2 in where I wasn't feeling sick, just in time for the fight. But yeah, it was a roller coaster just to get in there and do the fight. So coming out on the winning hand is even better. Especially by
TKO. And then, like you said, you like to bloody the guy. Well, you definitely did that there.
Yeah. I got the best of both worlds because we fought 3 hard rounds. So I got a lot of cage time and experience and exposure that I was still able to get to finish. So, you don't really want to get in there and just smoke the guy in 10 seconds. You don't really gain a whole lot. I mean, sure, it's great to win, but you want the experience and you want to get better. So, yeah, I think it went picture perfect.
And how long does it usually take to recover after a fight?
Well, this is the longest it's taken me. Actually, I'm finally back to full training. Like the last week or 2, I've been back helping some of our other guys get ready for fights. But yeah, I was just banged up. Like Jesse was a big guy and he hit hard and he threw a lot of kicks. My legs were kind of messed up. Like I had that knee injury as well. So he was kicking that leg a whole bunch and it just took a long time. I was surprised that I fought lots of times. Usually literally Monday, I'm right back in the gym feeling 100%. I was still able to train, but I wasn't at 100%, but I'm back now. I'm 100% healed up. So
Beauty. So you're ready for your next bout, then hopefully that's coming soon.
Yeah. I'm actually that's finally back in my mind, because when you're injured and you're recovering from a fight, the last thing in your mind is the next one, because training camps are hard and long and, they're not fun. But now that I'm healed, I'm back training. So I'm going to get back in shape as fast as I can. And then we just start waiting for offers and opportunities. That there's a word that UFC is, getting traveling back up north again to Canada, hopefully. So that'd be a cool one to be a part of for sure.
That would be sweet. And obviously I read a little bit into your career and stuff. Kind of started off with the first couple losses, and then you took a little break there. And now you're riding a 10 fight win streak here. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. It was tough times for a bit. Fight game is really, it's really harsh. A couple things don't go your way, and your career can look drastically different one way or the other. But there was times when I was really upset, and my old coach, my old manager, he used to just take whatever fight was ever offered, whatever weight class. I've got fights in 5 different weight classes. So we just did not care. He said yes to absolutely everything that came across. That was just his mentality. And it was good in some ways, but it was really having a negative effect on my career. And then I kind of regrouped. I wanted to do better. I wanted to perform better. So, I got my new coach and I got my new management, and then, things really 180 for me. And then I was just riding the momentum from there on, this 10 fight win streak. When I got my Contender Series fight, I'd won 8 in a row, but my record still wasn't great. So I knew it was my win streak that was going to get me in. So every fight I took, I had to take so seriously, even if it was just a local fight against a guy that, I was pretty favored to win. Even if that was the case, I could not lose again. So it forced me to get so much better each time, because I had to take each fight so serious. And now that I finally made it, the pressure of the streak is off. It's just a great thing, but it's not the same type of pressure used to be on me before. So I get a chance to just have some fun in there and perform.
And to you, what does it mean to be a fighter?
I mean, really all it shows is that you can test yourself and you can push yourself. So you really find out a lot about yourself if you put yourself through, a really tough situation like that, or a tough scenario that you've never been a part of. And a lot of people like to say how they would act in certain scenarios with never testing it. So being able to really put yourself in those situations to test, you learn a lot about yourself, positive or negative. So I got a lot of respect for people who will push themselves into those uncomfortable situations to the max, something like fighting, because you'll really learn a lot about yourself and improve yourself.
And what was it like meeting Dana White? Seems like an absolute beauty.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. I mean, he's a very real person on when you see him on camera. So it's not like he has some kind of facade he's putting on. So exactly what you see is what you get. He was really cool.
And what holes in your game are you working on fixing?
Well, I'm always working on my physicality. So my strength conditioning. The guys at this level are just big and strong. I've been doing it for a long time, longer than most of these guys. I've been fighting pro for almost 12 years now. So I've got a lot of skills, but I really feel like at this level of the game, you really need to have your strength conditioning. It needs to be world class. These are some of the best athletes in the world. So that's where a lot of my focus is going right now. I'm still a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I'm dead set on getting that black belt. So I'm always working towards it. But yeah, when it comes to preparing for fights, in my opinion right now, my skills can get it done. I need the strength conditioning to make sure that it goes the right way that night.
And if there was one dream fight with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, that's kind of an interesting question. I don't know. There's tons of guys that love to fight just for the craziness of it. I love an exciting, wild fight. So there's lots of great fighters in my division and in the UFC. But, it's kind of like the guys I referred to before. Obviously not these specific guys, but people who are just wild in there, like BJ Penn used to be, and the Diaz brothers, like somebody that's just going to bring such a crazy element to the fight, and it just makes everybody talk about it. That's what's exciting to me.
I think like a Chris Lieben.
Yeah, exactly. Guys like that. It was always super. You never knew what was going to happen. Crazy fights. I feel like that's people really need to remember that part about our sport. That's why people like to watch it. So it's important to still give people what they want.
And what separates you from every other fighter in your division?
Well, it's really just my iron will, my iron mind. I really believe in myself and my skills, and I know that I can perform on fight night to the best of my abilities because I've tested myself. I've pushed myself through absolutely all avenues. And, when you have to dig down real deep, some people come up empty handed, but I know I never do. I've never hit the bottom. I can always dig deep. I can always get it done. So I really trust in myself and my mentality. The things that you can't teach or train are the things that I have, heart, will, mindset. I feel like that wins me a lot of my fights.
And do you have any pre-fight rituals or routines?
Not really. I'm a pretty easy guy fight week. A lot of guys get really worked up, or they get a lot of anxiety, and sometimes they overcompensate by trying to joke around the whole time, or sometimes they're really strict and disciplined to everything and they don't like to joke around. Or I try to just keep it as life as usual, and until I literally am in the back room warming up and they tell me, you're up in 10 minutes, that's when I switch. So I try to just keep it as normal and as light as I can.
Do you have a dream venue you want to fight in one day?
Well, that's kind of the exciting thing about finally making to the UFC is traveling internationally and getting to go all these cool places I've never been before. So for me, it's just about getting out of here, getting overseas, getting to Asia, places like this, and getting big fights in front of big crowds. I want all the experience that comes with being a UFC fighter, not just the fights. The travel, I think, is a big part of it too. So I'm just looking forward to it. There's so many cool places I can't wait to go.
Yeah. And how do you celebrate after a big W like that? Are you waiting for a steak or a burger or a beer, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I don't diet crazy hard because I don't cut a ton of weight like some of these other guys. So I'm not always crazy looking for food after like a lot of guys. But I'm definitely getting my hands on a few drinks, trying to find some Canadian beer wherever we are. It's been a little bit tougher. The last couple have been in Vegas, but yeah, you're definitely going to find me out celebrating and having a few beers because you got to celebrate the wins, man. You have to. So even if you don't feel like it, like after the Strader fight, I was sore. My legs all busted up, and it was already the fight was kind of early. We were done at 3 p.m. So it was we could just sit around and order some food. But no, you still want to try and get out and have some drinks and try and just enjoy the victories.
At the end of your career, what do you want to be remembered as?
Exciting. It's definitely going to be an exciting fighter, man. That's way more important to me than anything else, than records and belts. When people see that I'm fighting, I have to get people excited. They have to want to see my fights. They have to remember my name after a card. That's more important than anything to me is, you have a lot of friends and family that are your fans. I don't want them to be my fans just because they know me. I want them to legitimately be a fan because I fight, as hard as I can, and I try and put on great fights.
And this is a question we ask every guest on our show. If you were hosting a dinner and drink party and you could invite 3 famous people, dead or alive, who are you inviting?
That's a tough one. 3 famous people. I'd probably want to bring in the great Wayne Gretzky. I think that's cool just to have somebody that was so elite and ahead of his peers. That's such an interesting thing there. And then, I brought him up a few times, but I definitely would have to bring in a Diaz brother, whichever one's available.
Yeah.
Just to pick their brain on fight stories, it'd be so cool. And then with that same thing in mind, it's probably a Mike Tyson because the type of experience and stories that they could share, it would probably just blow your mind. So that's what I'm thinking.
That's a sweet crew.
Yeah, for me, I always go with Tupac, Seth Rogen. Yeah. Seth Rogen is my comedian, and then a little eye candy. I'd like to go with Paulina Gretzky. So you can have Dad. You can have Dad. I'll take Paulina.
Well, I figured he'd be bringing her too. So it's kind of a 2 for 1.
Are you? What do you do for hobbies outside of fighting? Are you a fisherman?
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much where you'll find me. If I'm not in the gym, I'm at the lake or camping. My girlfriend, my dog. We like to get outside as much as possible. That's number one thing for us. So I'm always in the gym, or I train hard and I play hard. I try to just, if I'm in relaxing mode or taking a break from the gym, it's as relaxing and as much of a break as I could possibly do. Travel to the lake, turn the phone off. So yeah, that's where you'll find me for sure.
And what's your training schedule look like?
Well, it's kind of all over the place. It's kind of complicated right now because I'm still working full time. But it's making it difficult because, there's so much needed to compete at this level. So, right now I just work all day and then I go down and I train all evening. But, it makes for a long day. I get to work at like 8. I don't get home from training till like 10. So to make time for the girlfriend, the dog, all the stuff in between, it gets really tough. So during training camps, I pull back my workload a little bit, and then I can take a couple of days off during the week and get some more training and rehab done. But for now, in between fights, I work all day, then I head down to the gym and train all evening, and that's pretty much all I do.
If it wasn't fighting and you could play any other sport professionally, would it be hockey?
Yeah, for sure. I still love hockey. I'm still a big fan, and I loved it when I was playing it. And I was fairly good, and I definitely played with an edge, you could say it. I pretty much always led in penalty minutes and fights and all the rest of it. But it's just I love the competitiveness of hockey, and that team sport is fun too. Like fighting, obviously you have your team, but when you get out there, it's all on you. The highs and lows are so extreme and the stresses are so extreme. Hockey was a little bit more fun at times, but yeah, it'd be hockey for sure.
And what advice would you have for people starting MMA?
Just because it's going to take a long time, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It takes a long time to get the skills you need to make it to the top. So the time's going to pass anyway. You might as well be gaining skills while it's passing. So I know it can feel like a lot. It can feel like Mount Everest when you're a white belt in jiu-jitsu and you're thinking about making the UFC one day. You got to learn striking, you got to learn wrestling, you got to learn jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, like all these things. But yeah, just do it. You'll be happy you did it because the time's just going to keep cruising by. You might as well be stacking on skills.
And do you roll with the same intro music? Like, you're going to roll with the same song for next fight, or do you switch it up every fight?
I switch it up every fight. Yeah, pretty much always do. I don't know. I usually don't even pick it till like the day before or like 2 days before. Just kind of whatever I'm feeling that week type of thing. I don't want to get ahead of myself and pick one and be sick of it by then. So yeah, I'm not too picky about songs either. Sometimes I'm too lazy to put my request in and they just pick one for me. So I'm not too picky.
And
there you go.
What's the most important skill in MMA?
Yeah, that's tough. Really, it's going to be your mentality. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by the moment, and great athletes get gassed out because they're overwhelmed. Great skilled people make mistakes because they're overwhelmed. I think you need the strong mentality to get in there and actually perform at your ability. So no matter what your abilities are, if you're not mentally strong enough, you're not going to perform anyway.
And,
hey, Chad, go ahead, Ryan. If you have another one, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I got two. How important is discipline in MMA?
It's extremely discipline in a lot of different ways. You don't have to overdo it. Everything in moderation, I always say. That goes for dieting, drinking alcohol, things like that. You need moderation. But what you do need discipline in is consistency. You need to do it every single day. So anybody can work hard. Everybody has worked hard, and they all know how. But it's the person that does consistently every single day is going to get ahead.
And you got a favorite sports movie?
I don't know if I call it a sports movie or not, but probably Snatch. I guess it's more kind of a boxing movie too. But yeah, it's been pretty much my favorite movie for years and years and years.
Sweet. Hey, Chad, I want to thank you so much for taking the time for us today. Obviously, we're fans of you, and we wish you best of luck, man. Hopefully, you're wearing that title someday soon.
We'll be cheering you on.
Yeah, right on, guys. Thanks for having me. Be sure to bet on me again if you like money.
Looking for the most beers on tap, great steaks, great staff? Head over to the John B. Pub.
We got the best beers, steaks, chicken wings, nachos in town. Come see us at the John B. Pub.
The John B. Pub, the best bar in town. Come sign up for our football pool. Say Hayes sent you.
The number one sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
Ryan Hayes and Big Mike. I Never Stop. I Only Touch Greatness podcast.